Have you heard the whispers in the dark woods of Appalachia? Locals speak of glowing eyes, a low growl, and a shadow, and what terrifying is that it's not some animal or human. I am talking about the legend of the Wampus Cat, a shape-shifting creature that stalked the mountains. Some say it's a cursed woman, others say it's a guardian of the forest. But the truth? It's far stranger and more chilling than you think. Today I am going to unfold the mystery of Wampus Cat. Hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon, stay close, because something might just be watching you. The Cherokee Warning that started it all. Long before European settlers came to these mountains, the Cherokee people knew something evil. Their elders spoke in hushed tones about a creature so dangerous, so unnatural, that even warriors feared to speak its name aloud. The Cherokee people called it Iwa, a name that still sends chills down the spines of those who know its meaning. According to their ancient stories, this wasn't just some wild animal. This was something much worse, something that had once been human but had crossed a line that should never be crossed. The story goes like this. There was once a Cherokee woman who became consumed with jealousy and curiosity about the sacred hunting rituals of the men in her tribe. These ceremonies were forbidden to women, but this woman couldn't let it go. She had to know what happened during those secret gatherings in the deep woods. One night she wrapped herself in the skin of a mountain cat and went through the darkness to see what they are doing. She thought she was clever and can easily witness their sacred rituals. But the spirits of the mountain don't take kindly to those who break sacred laws. When those spirits discovered her deception, they didn't just punish her, but they cursed her. The cat skin she had worn as a disguise became fused to her body forever. She was cursed to roam the mountains for eternity, a shapeshifter trapped between two worlds, hungry for revenge against those who had cast her out. The mountain's nightmare. Fast forward to the 1800s when European settlers began to spread further into the Appalachian territory. These were tough people, pioneers who could handle bears, wolves, and all the other dangers these mountains had to offer. But they weren't prepared for the Wampus Cat. The first documented encounters started showing up in settlement records around the 1840s. Farmers woke up to find their livestock slaughtered. We're talking about full-grown cattle torn apart like they were made of paper, with claw marks too big to belong to any known predator. But it wasn't just the livestock. People started disappearing too. Search parties would find their rifles abandoned by the trail, but no sign of struggle, no blood, nothing. It was like the mountain had just swallowed them whole. The few witnesses who claimed to have seen the creature alive told stories that would make your skin crawl. They described a massive cat-like beast, easily 6 feet long, with yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. Some said it walked on its hind legs like a person. Others swore they saw it change shape right before their eyes, shifting from cat to human and back again. One settler woman from Tennessee wrote in her diary about hearing the most horrible screaming outside her cabin one winter night. She said it sounded like a woman in agony, but when she peered through her shutters, all she could see were those glowing yellow eyes staring back at her from the tree line. The attacks were always the same, quick, brutal, and seemingly random. The Wampus Cat didn't hunt for food like a normal predator. It hunted for sport, for revenge, for reasons that only made sense to a mind twisted by centuries of supernatural rage. The shape of fear itself. Now here's where things get really interesting. The Wampus Cat seemed different to different people. It's like the creature itself is constantly shifting, constantly adapting to terrify its victims. Some people describe it as a massive panther with supernatural strength and intelligence. These witnesses talk about a creature that's clearly feline but far too large and too smart to be any ordinary mountain lion. They say it can leap impossible distances, scaling cliff faces that would challenge experienced rock climbers. Others see something more human-like, a tall, gaunt figure covered in dark fur, walking upright through the forest with an unnatural, predatory grace. These witnesses are often the most shaken because there's something deeply unsettling about seeing human intelligence in those wild animal eyes. But the most disturbing claims come from people who claim to have watched it change. They describe seeing a normal-looking woman walking along a mountain path, only to watch in horror as she drops to all fours and transforms into a beast. The transformation isn't quick and clean like in the movies either. Witnesses describe it as violent and painful looking, like the creature is being torn apart and rebuilt with every shift. The sounds alone, the cracking of bones, the wet tearing of flesh reshaping itself, are enough to drive people to the edge of madness. What makes it even more terrifying is that the Wampus Cat seems to understand human psychology. It doesn't just attack randomly. It studies its victims, learns their routines, their fears, their weaknesses. Some families report being stalked for weeks before an attack, finding paw prints around their homes, hearing that haunting cry getting closer and closer each night. Living nightmares. You might think that stories like this would fade away as the world became more modern, more connected, more scientific. But the Wampus Cat didn't. Reports of encounters continue right up to the present day, and if anything, they're becoming more frequent and more disturbing. In the 1970s, a group of campers in the Great Smoky Mountains reported being terrorized by something they couldn't explain. They described waking up to find their campsite surrounded by enormous paw prints and long, deep claw marks gouged into the trees around their tents. But what really scared them was the feeling that they were being watched by something intelligent, something that was enjoying their fear. A park ranger who investigated the scene later said he'd never seen anything like it in 20 years on the job. The claw marks were too high up on the trees to have been made by any known animal, and they showed a level of deliberation that suggested whatever made them was thinking, planning, sending a message. In 2003, a family in rural Kentucky called the sheriff's department in a panic. They claimed that something had been circling their house for 3 nights straight, making sounds like a crying woman mixed with an angry wildcat. When deputies arrived to investigate, they found massive paw prints in the mud around the house and scratch marks on the windows that looked almost like someone had been trying to claw their way inside. But the deputies' report took an even stranger turn. While they were examining the evidence, they heard the creature calling from the woods, a sound so unnatural and so filled with malice that both experienced officers drew their weapons without thinking. They described it as the most frightening sound they'd ever heard, like pure hatred given voice. Even more recently, hikers with smartphones and cameras have started capturing evidence that's harder to dismiss. Blurry videos show something large and dark moving through the trees with an unnatural gait. Audio recordings pick up those haunting calls echoing through mountain valleys. Trail cameras occasionally capture images of something that doesn't quite look right. Too big to be a regular cat, too wild to be human, but somehow both at the same time. The internet age has connected Wampus Cat witnesses in ways that were never possible before. Online forums buzz with first-hand accounts from people across Appalachia who've had encounters they can't explain. These aren't attention seekers or hoax artists. These are everyday people, teachers, mechanics, nurses, retirees, who've seen something that challenged everything they thought they knew about the natural world. So, what do you think? Is the Wampus Cat just an old mountain tale, or is something truly hunting in the shadows of Appalachia? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you love diving into dark legends like this, hit that like button and subscribe button. Thanks for watching.